So, have you ever stopped to think about how one relatively small island nation managed to become this quiet architect of so much of our global culture? I mean, it really has shaped the fundamental ways the world plays, listens, and tells stories. It's fascinating.
Okay, think about this for a second. You've got the most popular sport on the entire planet, right? The world's most famous fictional spy. And, you could definitely argue, the most influential band in history. What on earth is the single thread that connects all of them?
The answer? Yep, they were all born in Britain. But this goes way deeper than just a shared birthplace. Each one of them represents a kind of cultural blueprint, a set of rules, a style, or a story that was perfected in the UK before it was basically exported and adopted all over the world.
And that whole idea of a blueprint really kicks off with something super fundamental: how we play. See, Britain didn't just invent a couple of popular games. It literally wrote the rulebooks for sports that billions of people now live and breathe. It created a universal language of competition.
And this wasn't something that happened overnight. It was a process that took centuries. You can trace modern golf all the way back to 15th century Scotland. But then you hit the 19th century and things just explode. You get the rules for rugby, the first pro football clubs, modern tennis. It was this Victorian obsession with organizing things that turned these local pastimes into the global powerhouses they are today.
And that legacy of organizing things extends to the biggest stages in the world. I mean, hosting the Olympics 3 times is a huge deal, no question. But you know what? Britain's most profound contribution might actually be the Paralympics. It started with Dr. Sir Ludwig Guttmann, who was himself a refugee, using sports to help patients with spinal injuries. Just an incredible act of compassionate innovation that grew into the massive global event we all watch today.
Let's just take a moment to appreciate this number: 5. We're talking about 5 consecutive Olympic gold medals for the rower Sir Steve Redgrave. That is an almost unbelievable level of excellence, maintained for 2 solid decades. Just incredible. And if you thought that was amazing, look at this: 16. Baroness Tani Gray Thompson didn't just show up to compete. She absolutely dominated, winning 16 Paralympic medals. Numbers like these just go to show the incredible strength of the Paralympic movement in Britain, right from the very beginning. You know, this sporting culture runs so deep that it's actually baked right into the English language. If someone says an action is not cricket, what they mean is it's unfair or just not right. The fact that a sports code of conduct became a society's metaphor for fair play, well, that tells you everything you need to know about its cultural impact. Okay, so from the rules of the game, let's switch gears and talk about the sounds that make up the world's soundtrack. Because here again, you can see Britain's cultural blueprint is just as powerful, stretching all the way from classical music halls to the top of the global pop charts. The journey is just remarkable. It really starts with composers like Henry Purcell creating this distinctly British sound. Then, flash forward to the 1960s and boom, the British invasion hits, with bands like the Beatles and the Rolling Stones basically conquering the world. But the blueprint doesn't just sit there. It gets ripped up and reinvented by the raw, disruptive energy of punk. And that legacy is still going strong today, with global superstars and massive festivals like Glastonbury. All right, so beyond the rules of sport and the rhythms of music, there is one final, huge piece of this cultural blueprint, and that is storytelling. British writers have created characters and worlds that are so compelling, they've become a part of our collective global imagination. Get this, there is a single play, Agatha Christie's The Mousetrap, that has been running nonstop in London since 1952. Just think about that. It's an absolutely mind-blowing testament to the staying power of a great mystery and to the deep, deep tradition of British theater. And the sheer range of this storytelling is just staggering. On one end, you've got Beowulf, this ancient Anglo-Saxon epic about fighting monsters. Then, over 1,000 years later, you get Harry Potter, a global phenomenon. The way we tell stories changes, obviously, but those core themes of good versus evil, they're absolutely timeless. And these authors, they didn't just write books. They created global icons. Shakespeare is performed in pretty much every language you can think of. The word Scrooge is universal shorthand for a miser. Sherlock Holmes is the absolute template for every detective that came after him. And James Bond, well, he's James Bond. These characters have literally jumped off the page to become modern myths. And it's not always about these huge, larger-than-life characters. Sometimes it's about the pure power of the language itself. This famous opening from William Wordsworth, it just perfectly captures that simple, universal feeling of finding beauty when you least expect it. It's that ability to tap into shared human emotions that gives this literature such lasting appeal.
So, when you pull it all together, you see that these three pillars, sport, music, and literature, they aren't really separate things at all. They're all woven together into this single, incredibly powerful cultural legacy that, believe it or not, is still evolving all the time.
And honestly, this is the most important thing to remember. These blueprints for how we play, what we listen to, and the stories we can't get enough of, they aren't museum pieces. They are living, breathing frameworks that are still being built on and challenged and adapted by new generations all across the world.
From football to the Beatles to Harry Potter, the UK has consistently and massively punched above its weight in shaping global culture. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? With a legacy this powerful, what on earth will it come up with next?